Hi, it's Anastasia here from kindearth.net, and today in my kitchen I've been making sauerkraut. Now sauerkraut ranks up there with one of the healthiest foods on the earth, and it's something that we would all benefit from incorporating into our cuisine regularly. Now I created a step-by-step guide showing you the important steps that you need to take to make perfect and delicious sauerkraut every time. So if you follow the guide, you're going to be absolutely delighted and happy with your sauerkraut. So let me know how you get on. I'm going to beam you back to a video that I shot step by step back in the autumn when I was still in England. So let's go see how ridiculously easy it is to make. Sauerkraut often involves cabbage, but you can use other vegetables to make it. It's basically taking cabbage or other vegetables and allowing them to ferment in a naturally occurring lactic acid, which is friendly bacteria, environment. And we are going to use the salt method of making sauerkraut. So we're not using vinegar, we're not using water, we're not using anything other than the vegetables and salt, and it's going to make what is my favorite way of making sauerkraut. It keeps, if you keep it at 15 degrees Celsius, which is 60 degrees Fahrenheit or below, then it can keep months if you put it in an airtight container in a oxygen-free environment. It's much better to use either glass, ceramic or porcelain to store your sauerkraut. You don't want to be using plastic and you don't want to be using metal, because over that period of time there's just bound to be leaching that occurs from the metal and the plastic. So stick to glass, porcelain or ceramic and you'll be fine. So it's well known that sauerkraut is absolutely jam-packed full of vitamins and minerals, and it's also said that fermenting pre-digests your food for you so that it actually unleashes and makes many of those vitamins, minerals and essential nutrients much more bioavailable. So you're going to get a lot more nutritional value from something like sauerkraut than you would if you just ate those vegetables just right out the ground. So there's benefits to both, but this is a way of just really upping your level of nutrients, friendly bacteria, which is so important for gut health, which has an impact on our entire immune system, our entire health in general. So I do get quite excited about eating sauerkraut, and I would say that to make it at home yourself is actually a very different experience to buying the jarred stuff from a shop. There are a few fundamental things that make sauerkraut work. Now you can try it lots of different ways, not always work. There's some very important rules to follow, and then have creativity within that, but you want to make sure that you ferment between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius. That is the optimal condition. If it's kind of lower temperature than that, it's going to really slow the fermentation process down. If it's over that temperature, you're going to find that you've got mold and bacteria readily growing, and it's going to spoil the whole process. One other absolutely crucial thing is that we want to create an oxygen-free environment, an anaerobic environment for all the vegetables. So it's crucially important that we keep the vegetables below the brine. So we're going to create brine, and then we're going to push the vegetables down and make sure that they stay down below that line. That's really important, and I can't overstate that one. So mold can't grow if there's no oxygen, and the salt in the mixture helps prevent unfriendly bacteria from growing whilst allowing the space for friendly bacteria to proliferate. And one of the things that I've found in all my experimentations and adventures in sauerkraut making is that the level of salt you use, the amount of salt you use to the ratio of vegetables you use is really crucial. Like if you use too much or too little, it can really spoil the process. As a rule of thumb for me personally, I find that 750 grams of vegetables with 1 tablespoon of salt cured together makes the perfect environment, the perfect salty environment. Just enough salt, not too much, not too little. So what I've done, I've taken 650 grams of red cabbage and I've took about 100 grams of carrot and I've grated them. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of ginger and a tablespoon of sea salt. And that really is all that you need in here for this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to massage it for 5 minutes. Alright, so I've let that sit for about 30 minutes. I've got a really clean, super clean jar with a lid somewhere. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a bit more of a squash. And can you just see how that liquid is just pouring out? It's actually really good fun. It's like, you know, when you're a kid and you're not allowed to play with your food. Well, some of us were allowed, some of us weren't. But this is just like playing with your food. It's actually so satisfying because it really connects you with a deep level with your food, with the earth, and that in turn is going to nourish you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my super clean jar and I'm going to pack it all in. I happen to know that this jar is about 700 millilitres. So that's just under 3 cups if you're from the USA. Use what you have available. We had a lot of volume of vegetables, remember, and it's all going to fit nice and snug in this jar. So pop it in. And it might look like it's not all going to fit in at the minute. We'll see about that. I'm going to squeeze it down, squeeze it down, squeeze it down, and you can see that brine rising up nicely, making room for the rest of it. Just pop it in there. And what you want to do is push it down. Just look at that, coming right up to the edge. And remember that all we've got in here is salt and vegetables and ginger. So you've got all this liquid just from the vegetables itself, which is premium. So you don't have any impurities coming in the water. It creates the perfect environment. What we need to do is keep that vegetable, so you want to just pick off any bits that are around the edge, because if you're going to leave it out, you know, for a while, then any bits that aren't below that brine are actually going to get a bit moldy. You don't want that. You can prevent mold 100% entirely and just create super friendly bacteria just by keeping the vegetables below the brine line. I might have said that a few times, but I just want to stress how important it is. My favourite way is using parchment paper. You could use a food grade plastic bag if you wanted to do that, or you could actually use the outer leaves of the cabbage. Cut off the outer leaf and use that to put on top and press down. I'm not so much of a fan of doing that all the time because sometimes the outer leaves do come up to the edge and create a bit of mold. What I found works is a bit of parchment paper, and I'm just going to press that down and make sure that around all the edges there's no bits of vegetables popping up. And then I'm just going to get something heavy. I like to use a little jar, pop it down, and then if that brine line is coming to the top, that is enough. But if it's not, then I'll put water in it just to weigh it down even more. So basically you just want the brine to rise as high as it can to make sure that no vegetables are exposed to the air. We're talking about a saline, which means a salt environment, that's anaerobic, which means oxygen free. So as you can see, when I push down on that, I'll put a little bit of water in it to add to the weight. The brine level comes right to the top, and that's what I'm looking for. So what I want to do now is put it in some sort of container, because that is going to ferment. And once it starts to ferment, it's going to start bubbling over. So we're going to watch it over the next week and see how long that takes. It does vary on different factors. It depends how warm it is. If it's a little bit cool in here, it's not going to ferment as quickly. It is quite cold at the moment, so we'll just have to see how that fares. Okay, it's been about 5 days and my sauerkraut is ready. So basically sauerkraut can be ready after a few days. If you leave it for a few weeks or longer, then it will just continue to deepen, and the friendly bacteria will keep multiplying, which is very, very beneficial for us. I tend to start eating them after a few days because I can't wait, but then I might make several different ones so that I can spread them out over a period of time. It has exactly the kind of smell that I'm looking for. It's vibrant, it's fresh, and I just know that's going to taste delicious. So if we have a little closer look, we can see that the water line has started to sink down, basically as the brine absorbs back into the cabbage and the vegetables. I've changed this parchment paper a couple of times. It's up to you how much you do that. And remember, if you don't want to use parchment paper, you can use the clean outer leaf of a cabbage. You can even use a food grade plastic bag if you want to, although I know we're trying not to use plastic unless absolutely necessary. So, I'd recommend trying something else if you can. So we want to take that off, and you can see how that liquid is just absorbed right back into the cabbage. And we're talking vibrant and brimming with friendly bacteria at this stage. The cabbage has some natural friendly bacteria on it already. The stuff that we need in our body, stuff that can really vastly improve our gut health, which has massive knock-on effects. If we manage that regularly and consistently, our gut health, if that's doing really well, that can have massive implications throughout your whole body, to your energy levels. It can really help kickstart your immune system and all of that. I'm not going to go into lots of detail about that in a minute. This is just about making your sauerkraut. So let's have a little taste, see what it's like. Yum, 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 yum. Yeah. I love it. I'm a big fan of sauerkraut. In fact, I can just eat it like that. When I have a lot of sauerkraut going on, I do often just eat it like that. It's really healthy. Yeah, so there was quite a bit of salt that went in that. That's all transformed, transmuted, and done its little magic. So what we want to do is we want to pop a lid on that. After a few days, or you can just leave it and you can just let it keep curing. I might pop that in my fridge if I haven't got a cool enough place, but you want to store it at 15 degrees Celsius or below when you're ready to store it. But again, if you want to leave it to develop for longer, just make sure that you check it on a daily basis, and that remember these really important things. You need to make sure that you keep the vegetables constantly below the water line, below the brine line. And so you want a solid barrier on top that helps push that down. You need to get the salt ratio for this recipe right. If you have too much salt, it spoils it. If you have too little salt, it really doesn't work too well either. So I have found the perfect ratio seems to be about 1 tablespoon of salt to 750 grams or thereabouts of vegetables. And you can use different vegetables, but try and make sure that you get a good proportion of cabbage in there, because cabbage really does seem to contain a very premium level of friendly bacteria already, and they'll just instantly start multiplying when you put them in the right environment. And so you want to have a weight, a clean jar works really well. Just add water into it or rocks into it if you want it to weigh down. Okay, go to my website and you will find a very detailed description of how to make sauerkraut along with extra tips and hints. I'll leave the link for you, so please do check that out. Thanks for tuning in. I do hope that you've enjoyed watching this video. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and come visit me on my website, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.